Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock, and welcome to the fourth live cast from Facebook. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fourth live cast of Facebook, day 12 of the lockdown. Thank you very much for everyone that's dialed in and continues to ask questions. We've been trying to answer them. Some of the questions we haven't been getting to during the course of these little chats. We're trying to keep them tight. 20-25 minutes is sort of where we're aiming at. Today we're going to be discussing estates, secure living, and that may be in the form of freestanding homes or apartments. Our views on that, and just opening the discussion platform on sort of the modern day secure living. Just to kick off, interesting fact is that a bit of research we've done, the housing market per se, freestanding homes, is continuing to stagnate. The actual indices at the moment are showing anything between 2 and 5% year-on-year capital growth in the freestanding home market. Whereas if you look at the estates, the sort of numbers are ranging between 7 and 9%, which is what we're going to talk about today. Just to put that in some numerical terms, out of, let's call it a property value of 4 million Rand as an example, if the growth on a freestanding home's 4% per year, and the same 4 million Rand home in an estate, whether it be an apartment or a freestanding house, is growing at 8%, by year 5, the differential in capital value of those two assets will be about 1 million Rand. By year 10, it is about 2.7 million Rand. And what's representative of that is that, year on year, the margin or the differential between the two is about 200 to 250,000 Rand a year, depending on whether you look at it over 5 or 10 years. So that represents, for the sort of the household, living in a freestanding home, that represents a differential of about 20 to 25,000 Rand a month, after tax money, that you're either falling behind or you're gaining. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why there's this massive demand, what we foresee over the next period of time. So to just jump straight into it, the reasons people want to be in a secure estate, whether it be apartment or freestanding home, sort of there's quite a few fundamentals. One, pinnacle is obviously security, particularly in our country. The ability to sleep with your windows open, your front door unlocked. That's something that you'll find most guys that have moved into a state will never be able to move out because of that freedom. The second thing is community, and that's linked to security. The ability to walk around, walk to a local restaurant or a clubhouse or a sporting facility, or your kids to be able to walk around or ride their bikes around estates. It's something that I think is a value all of us would value highly. The third component is maintenance. We've seen a lot of cost and just time. The modern day living of convenience. People don't want to be mowing big lawns and cleaning big swimming pools and trimming hedges and all that type of stuff that you'd find in a freestander. Obviously, in the estates, you've got those facilities and services available. So, the convenience of the estates is paramount. And then I think the other one is just the main focus is just convenience. The ability to just walk over to a gym or walk to a clubhouse or get something delivered to your door, or to just be able to hang out on a Sunday at a clubhouse and have a Sunday lunch and not having to actually get up, get in the car, drive somewhere, and have all that hack. So I think when you add the benefits of estate living with a really key location, you really have a winner. Not only lifestyle and convenience and all the other things, but also on the capital growth side. So that's really the discussion point today. Us as developers see that over the next 5 years, 10 years, this trend will continue to happen. We believe that the margin, where where the freestanding typical home and the estate, that differential of 4 to 5% per year will continue to grow. We think that uncertainty around your bulk supplies, electricity and water, all those components, a new build estate facility can give clients the ability to have solar put in, or backup power systems put in. So you really are mitigating a lot of the aspects that we know as on the private sector that we're going to be facing over the next 5 to 10 years. So we believe that that differential is going to only grow. Indications have been, particularly in the KZN area, some of the typical areas which were seen as high end, very difficult to get into, prices increasing previously 3 to 4 years ago. There's a lot more for sale signs up. Properties are moving way slower. Property prices are not being achieved that the sellers are wanting. So I also believe that slope, or that trend downwards, is going to continue. So that, the example we just gave of that 4% growth, I believe that will continue to drop, which makes that differential margin increase even further. So that's why, as developers, we focused highly on almost like self-sustained little ecosystems of development, focusing on backup water, backup power, high-end security, convenience living, really cool park and recreational facilities, public facilities, swimming pools and gyms and all those type of things, low maintenance, and more convenient orientated living. So we're going to dive into the questions, and please, the forum is open, so just fire away, and we're just going to get through as many of these questions as we can. Just to highlight, and I'll reiterate again, please go onto the Devmco website. There is in the download section, there's actually a link, or one page, which actually gives you access into all the facilities we've done, just to give you an indication of the facilities I'm talking about, to understand the ease and the community-based living. There's a whole lot of interactive modules and stuff that you can meander through over the next, what have we got, 8-9 days, hopefully 8-9 days, and we can go through, you guys can go through that in your own time, and just have a look at the typical examples of what we've done and what we're about to do. So let's jump into the questions. Good morning, Charles. What are some of the benefits of living in an estate rather than freestanding homes? So, I'll take an example of one of our latest estates, which is Gold Coast. Obviously, you've got, once again, key location, it's got to be convenient. Everything has to be convenient. So it's got to be accessible to the city, airports, your main retail hubs. It's got to be your main commercial hubs, your kids' schools, all those types of things is a non-negotiable. So talking about an estate with really good access and location, that's something that's a non-negotiable. Access down to the beach at Gold Coast is an example. We've just finished the first sporting facility, which has got the squash courts and tennis courts, floodlit tennis courts, saunas, high altitude rooms. It's got a gym, it's got studios, it's got lap pools, it's got little pubs and little coffee shop areas. So to give you an idea of those benefits, that you can get home from work, you've done your shopping locally, you get home and you can go straight to the gym, have a 40-minute workout. You're not trying to find parking in a busy car park at a Virgin Active, as an example. You can literally walk to the gym. If you've got older kids, they can have a swim. You do a little workout, pick your kids up, go to the second clubhouse, which will be a more recreational zone. So it's more entertainment orientated restaurants. The kids can play in a jungle gym while you order a pizza. You can sit on the lawn. You can have a picnic with your kids. You can have a gin and tonic if you want at the restaurant node while your kids are having a pizza. And then literally at home, and you've had like this, almost like this experience where you've done your gym, you've had a little meal out with your kids and your family. Your husband's come home from work. He's met you for a drink and a dinner. Don't have to worry about all the heck around our day-to-day lives, which, as we're working harder and longer hours, and often it's dual party working. Those are the benefits of living in an estate. those are the things that just make the difference in terms of lifestyle. So Kylie says, as a mom of 2 small children, why should I enter a state rather than a freestanding home? So Kylie, good idea, good question. I would just say, look, I think one thing is, as we all grew up, well, I certainly grew up, in the 80s when I was a youngster, being able to jump on my bike and go for a ride, to visit my mates, and pick them up and go for a ride, and ride down to the tea room or the corner store and grab a piece of licorice or something like that. That doesn't exist at the moment. In our freestanding home setup, it is not, we as responsible parents actually aren't able to let our kids have that freedom. And that is exactly why, I initiated the whole Gold Coast design, because I wanted my kids to have that lifestyle. I wanted my kids to be able to get on their bike, ride to a neighbor's house, pick up a mate, go down to the trampolines or the super tubes in the swimming pools, go grab a pizza. Obviously with technology, things are way more trackable nowadays. So one of the concepts that we're developing is to basically load up your kids' pocket money on a fingerprint, and they'll go in, put their fingerprint on the tuck shop biometric or the hands-free biometric system. It'll credit their allowance. It gives them the freedom to actually move around and operate and go and buy a bag of chips on their own, meet up with a friend, go watch a movie in the park on a night with their friends safely. That is why I think, as a mom with 2 small kids, I would highly encourage that. And obviously on top of that is just, on a night when you don't have to put the beams on, close the treadie doors, all those type of things. It just gives you that peace of mind and that safety. So Anna says, what is the difference between a homeowners association and a body corporate? Okay, so homeowners association is sort of the rule-making entity that basically fundamentally governs the rules within an estate. The body corporate is an entity that will meet as boards, a board of body corporate sort of representatives, and they can obviously run the whole homeowners association under that banner. So they will basically be custodians of the homeowners association rules and regulations. So those are, from the body corporate side, they'll decide, okay, look, some of the buildings are looking a bit tired. We need to repaint at year 4 as an example. And, they'll make those decisions. They'll govern the association. They will manage the growth and the upkeep and maintenance of the estate under the guise of the homeowners association rules that are put in place. So, another question here from Megan. I've been considering moving into estate. What costs are involved in buying into an estate? Okay, so a good question. The cost of an estate typically are seen as higher than a freestanding home because of all the attributable sort of luxuries that come with it. So sort of some of the numbers range between 30 and 40% higher than a freestanding home as a typical across nationally. So the cost in an estate, if you buy directly off a developer, there's no transfer fees, which is always something that I would recommend. And I've talked about it as as getting into the market and optimizing on that capital growth portion. So if you buy directly off the developer, there's no transfer fees, which is a massive thing. On top of that, we generally included in the sale agreement on our stuff. There's a fee or a once-off association payment that goes to the body corporate for managing the whole estate going forward, and it ranges. That number ranges between 10 and 20,000 usually. That type of number as a once-off fee. As you then, let's say, move into a home, you've got a levy which is usually in the region of 2 to 3,000 on a home, as an example. Larger homes can go slightly higher, and then you've got your normal rates, which is to the municipality as per a freestanding home. Okay, Terence says, what are estate levies? What do they cover? Okay, so Taryn, good question. Levies cover basically all the upkeep of the estate. They cover the gardening, the lawns, the road maintenance, the cleaning, the refuse removal. They cover all those basic day-to-day things, as well as security. If there's any other facilities in the estate, so like um, maintenance of fiber, maintenance of security cameras, maintenance of gates, the common facilities, so your gym, your eateries, your business hubs that may exist in various estates. So it basically is an all-encompassing number that manages the estate. It also provides a bit of reserve in case something goes wrong. For instance, one of the roads gets some potholes and needs to be resurfaced, et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically an all-encompassing amount that manages the premierness of the estate. So keeps it in really good nick. And that is one of the also the attributable reasons why we see continued growth in the estates, is that a good body corporate running an effective levy structure and using the funds, as most body corporates do very well, that continued maintenance is basically keeping your asset polished, and keeping that value of growth in the asset. As I've talked before, it's not just getting a good buy at year one; it's the preservation of that asset. It's the biggest asset most people will ever have is a property. It's something that needs to be looked after. And it's not just the individual asset, it's your neighbors as well. So there's no good you having a freestanding house which you keep immaculately clean, but your neighbors are letting their properties go to ruins, because it obviously affects the price of your property. So Pam says, you're referring to some real high-end amenities, state-of-the-art security, common area maintenance. Surely this entails high costs. How do you ensure that your levy structure is affordable? So yeah, Pam, good question. What we do is when we go out on a development in the initial sort of design phases, we make sure that our numbers, the number of opportunities, you can't have all those facilities with, say, 30 or 40 residents, because your levies will be exorbitant. So what we try and do is we try and manage the number of let's call it homes, whether they be freestanding or duplexy type homes, as Gold Coast. And then we extrapolate that into an anticipated total cost for running the estate. And we like to try and manage the facilities plus the number of units to keep that levy, down in the 2,000 to 2,500 rand mark. That's sort of where we like to play. At Gold Coast, with very high-end facilities, we might push that up slightly to like 2.8, somewhere around there. But generally, we don't like to go past those type of numbers. It becomes that blend of having the facilities, but actually you can't charge 8,000 rand a month, because it's not affordable. And the whole idea with getting into these estates is lifestyle, and lifestyle that also talks to affordability, and that continued pressure of trying to pay these levies. So we're very cognizant of keeping those numbers real. Mark says, hi Charles, great topic. There's a gap, I believe, between your high-end estates and an entry-level estate in terms of price point. Barrier to entry into the bigger named estates is difficult financially. Does Devmco have any opportunities in the pipeline? So Matt, yes, very true, very, very true statement. Gold Coast, as an example, your sort of entry-level home there is about 6 to 6.5 million, which is high. It's a high-end price point entry. There is a massive, massive gap in the market to actually enter in at that sort of sub 4 million rand mark. We feel is the number. We are working on something currently. We'll elaborate on that going forward, but towards the end of the year, we'll be releasing something that sits exactly in that price point that you're talking about. I think, as I've said earlier, the demand will continue to grow in these estates, but obviously, realistically, we understand that not everyone can enter it at a 5 or 6 million rand point. So sometimes, it might be a case of actually getting into a smaller home in a secure estate, and then growing that home into a larger home, by buying a second one and selling or whatever. And that's the structure we're looking at. We love passing on capital gain or profits to our buyers, particularly the guys that have followed us around. So I think for someone trying to get into a state from a freehold property, or just straight off the bat as your first time acquisition. I would rather, as an individual, I'd rather buy a 2.5 million rand smaller property in an estate than go buy a 2.5 million rand freestanding house with a lot more. But that 2.5 million is not going to go anywhere in the next 5 to 10 years. Where, in the estate facility, that'll probably, more than double over a 10-year period, which is exactly what the first time buyer, or even the educated, second, third, fourth time buyer will want. We want our money to work for us, because at the moment it's tough, and after this lockdown it's going to get even tougher. So to get into the market and get a secondary income growing for you on the side is paramount at the moment. Cost says, are banks more inclined to approve bonds on the state versus freestanding? Does the estate's reputation give the bond applicant any leverage with the banks? So yes, good question, Cos. 100%. The answer to that is yes. We do go through a process where we educate the banks prior to launching on our products and what's coming. We get endorsements from them on the value offering of the product. So typically they're way more up to speed with the product and the type of product that it is. And we've seen up to 90, even 100% lens on the top structure on a piece of land, and then typically about 50 to 70% lens on the land that you're going to build your top structure, or if it's a package, a global, like 80% lend amounts, up to 90% some guys, if the balance sheet's there. So I think yes, the answer to that is yes. The banks do see that the asset value of a estate higher or more secure than a freestanding home. Okay, guys, we're at 22 minutes. I just want to wrap it up. So in synopsis, just saying, have a look at the links that on the Devmco website. It's all the downloads links. You'll just navigate your way through the Devmco group website and look at those. Have a look at the type of things I'm talking about. We've seen this growth. We're now 5 years into the development of the Sibaya zone. We've seen guys buying in at 2.5 million and selling at 3.3, 3.4 million after 3 years, including the 2-year construction process. So guys making 800,000 on a 250,000 rand investment. We've seen it over and over again. This is not just pie in the sky stuff. We are trying to educate the market out there that actually, when you run the numbers and you sit down and you look at a spreadsheet, as I said, on those growth rates, South African guys and families that are wanting to get ahead financially, pay attention to this. The secure estate market is going to continue to grow. Please just have a look at it. Do your homework. Go Google it a bit. All our buyers, everyone in this country that can afford to get into the property ladder, really want you guys to do well. Pay attention to this. It's going to be a big, big thing over the next 5 years. And it's not too early to get in. The emergence of estates is growing on a daily basis. And we can see it in the likes of St. Vithi and Dunkirk and Zimbali, how those prices have run. Plots in St. Vithi was 600,000, when they launched. They now, the same plots are sort of 2.5, 3 million rand. They've grown up to 5 times over the period of let's call it 8 years. So it's a real thing. There's examples of it everywhere. So please, guys, have a look, do your homework. Thank you for logging in. Please like, share, and forward on. We'll do another session on Friday, which will give you the topic. Stay safe. Well done for everyone in lockdown. It's tough, but we're getting through it as a country. God bless South Africa. Cheers.